What's going on, guys? This is JT Spratley. Give me just a minute. I'm going to make a little bit of noise. I'm going to pull up the stream in another window just to make sure I got a good idea as to how I sound. Make sure I don't have to do any audio troubleshooting. It's been quite a while since I've done this. So, better safe than sorry, you know? In the meantime, feel free to look at the website that you see on the screen. That's jtspratly.com/personal-trainer, or you can just look up JT Spratley. The name is there. Meanwhile, while I am doing this, no, I'm not going to try to kill two birds with one stone. In just a moment. All right. See how this sounds. All right. That sounds good. Hopefully that didn't sound too terrible in your ears, especially with the feedback. All right. What is the purpose of this stream? If you're looking at this on Twitch or Kick, you're probably thinking, it's not what I was looking for. I expected to see someone work out and do some things in the gym. This is going to be more of a conversation, a lot of audio, a lot of talking, more of a podcast. So if you're on the Twitch or Kick and you want to play a game while listening, feel free to. I'm not going to be doing a bunch of visual stuff here. It's going to be a bunch of chatting. You'll see maybe two websites. For the most part, it's going to be transparency and a list of questions. That's what I'm here to talk about tonight. The purpose of this stream is to simply answer what the internet says are the top questions to ask a personal trainer. All right. I didn't do a lot of research. I couldn't find a research peer-reviewed article where someone said these are the questions that X amount of personal trainers get asked. So I just said the internet. What questions are popular or important to ask a personal trainer? Give me 10. Give me 10 more. Put them in an order. Put them in a logical order. That's all I did. All right. And I'm just going to answer them right off the cuff. I didn't look at all of them. I looked at a few of them. I didn't do any prep work though. All I have is this list. You see, Duck AI. Got that list. They put it in order, and I got a couple questions on the side that came to mind from personal experience, having done this for a few years. And I'll probably add some, say a little bit here and there in the meantime. All right. So, starting off with the first one, are you certified? What are your qualifications? I am an A certified personal trainer. I also have other credentials on my website. I find this interesting though. The reason I find it interesting that, what's this? Now, I had asked another search engine to give me answers and it didn't really give me much. I don't need that up there. But the reason I find this interesting is because I've only had maybe one or two people ask me this question. And it wasn't nearly as direct as, are you certified? One person asked me, well, they basically said it. It was like, I would assume you had to go to school for this, right? Which you don't, by the way. Had this conversation with a few people. You can become a certified personal trainer without a degree in exercise science. I don't have a degree in exercise science. My degrees are in STEM. So voila. Even if you get a degree in exercise science to become a certified personal trainer, you have to take an exam, an proctored exam through a NASM, ACE, the in any of the others, or one of the others. I mean, not you only need one. But for what I've seen, most people focus more on how competent and confident you seem to be. And again, I haven't been doing this for over decades. I've only worked in a couple gyms, so the answer is going to vary. Remember, I'm just giving you my answers, right? So if somebody was like, "Hey, what do you know about that JT trainer guy?" You could give them this, and that'll be the answer you get. But I am a certified personal trainer. I have other certifications, like I said, that's on the website. But like I said, I find it interesting because usually I don't get asked this question. I almost never get asked this question. What I normally get asked is something around the lines of what I can do to help them. They start talking about things they got going on, uh, maybe some injuries or medical conditions. Depending on the person, some people may beat around the bush with their goals or start saying a bunch of things to try to make themselves feel comfortable with whatever they're about to tell me. All right, so I've had guys who come up to me. I'm not trying to get big and jacked and all this. And mind you, this isn't something I tried to pull out of them. That was just, I've had plenty of guys. That was one of the first things to say. I'm not trying to get big, not trying to get swole. I'm not trying to get bulky. I just want, and then they'll start saying a little bit, which it's one of those things. People look at you, and some people are going to run with the instincts. They're going to run with the assumptions. They're going to run with the generalization. And mind you, I'm not a very bulky guy, but I look like I go to the gym. You know, so I've had some guys that would look at me and assume that because of that I'm going to try to put them on a plan that involves building muscle mass. Now, for many, you may be thinking, okay, well, that's not your goal. Then what would be your goal? Easy. The goal is to better understand what your goals are and then to see how I can help you. Right. So that kind of goes into the second question that we're looking at on the screen here. When I talk to people, I immediately start trying to get information about the goal. What's your goal? What brought you to me? What are you trying to do? When? Right? SMART goals. Right? What is it? Specific, measurable, accurate, relevant, timely. No, A is not accurate. It's achievable. It's specific, measurable, achievable, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely. All right. So let's say somebody's like, "Hey, I want to lose 20 pounds before this vacation 3 months from now." Or someone may say, "I need to fit into this wedding dress." Or I need to be able to comfortably lift this much weight or this type of item or this person in this type of environment in this way. All right, those are ideal. Not everybody's going to have those goals. I've had plenty of clients, potential clients, who didn't really know what they were trying to do. They were just like, I just need to get started. And sometimes it will be a while before I actually get the answers to why they're there in the first place, why they're with me, what they're actually trying to accomplish. I've learned that it's, just do what I can with what I have, because it's probably just something they're not comfortable with telling me yet. It's probably something they don't want to tell me for one reason or another. And that's understandable. I don't knock people for that. It can be frustrating because obviously if you say, "Hey, I need to get fit," but that's the only thing you really want to tell me, that makes it a little harder to make make things specific to you that can make it harder, depending on other preferences and all of that stuff. But I can still do something with that, do what I can with what I have. Question number 2. What is your experience with clients who have my goals, age, fitness level? This is easy for me because I'll just be honest with you. I've had somebody who came up to me and they said, I'll give you a great example. A woman came up to me and said, what is your experience working with uh, prenatal, postnatal women? I said none. I said I've done research and I've learned a little bit about the things that women deal with pre, during, and after pregnancy, but I have no experience with them. Now I know many people with some marketing experience will go, sheesh, you could have, said something other than just that. You could have told them what you do know and told them how it applies. And you're right. And I probably should have. But that's a part that goes with my personality. Right? This woman's carrying a child and she wants to feel very comfortable with whoever she's working with, feel confident that whoever she's working with understands what she's dealing with, especially since she's obviously pregnant and I'm a man. So if a man is saying, I don't know nothing, I have no experience of dealing with someone in your predicament, that can be a huge turnoff for very obvious and understandable reasons. I never saw her again. And I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that at all. So we talk about goals, age, fitness level. There's also medical conditions, race, gender. I know as a country, we really trying to push this race neutral, this post-racial mindset that race don't impact you. It's BS. It's nonsense. It definitely does. You're being Black American in the US definitely impacts the way I'm treated. And that's not what I'm here to go jabbing on about that. Not today. But race is a big deal. It's just not nearly talked about. I shouldn't say it's a big deal because I don't know. I never had clients tell me that was a big reason they wanted to or didn't want to work with me for obvious reasons, right? People don't want to seem racist. But gender, I could look online and find studies that'll say most, a lot of women, women, first of all, are about 70 to 80% of the personal training customer base. Most of my clients are female. Statistically, most personal training clients are female. It's also statistics that most females prefer to work with a female personal trainer. So if you're a chick out there like, dang, I wanted that could be for me. Yeah, they're looking for you. They're looking for you. A lot of women that feel like only a woman can understand them for very understandable reasons, right? Pregnancy, right? Pre and postnatal. Menopause. Menopause is a huge one, right? I know some guys, especially maybe like, what is that all about? And I'm not gonna go in depth about it. Here's what I'm gonna say about menopause. I call it the second puberty for women. Now, don't get it twisted. Men have the same thing. This may be the point where some feminists will be like, yeah, that's called what they call it, the midlife crisis, right? But men do have a version that called andropause. Guys don't want to talk about it. Most guys probably never even heard that term. I didn't know it existed until recently. But there are plenty of women that know about menopause because their OBGYN or whatever they call it, their lady doctor makes them understand that stuff because there's a lot of stuff that happens then dealing with their hormone levels, estrogen. They're basically relearning their body again in some ways, at least usually. And that usually starts in the mid 30s, to mid 40s. So most women are dealing with that around the time where we would normally say you should stop thinking about having kids, but because of IVF and all this other stuff, you know, the average age for women having a child is gone up quite a few years. Don't worry, I'm not going to get all red pill rage on you. That's not what I'm here for tonight. Well, my point is, a lot of women that I deal with are going to be at that point, close to that point where they got to deal with those things. And many of them, they'd much rather deal with a female trainer who they feel will have a better understanding of that, whether or not it's true or not. And I've talked to women who didn't know about menopause. I've talked to women who are having certain conditions, certain issues, flat heat flashes, and some other stuff. And I go, have you talked with your OBGYN about being perimenopausal? Like, what's that? You know. But anyways, that's the point is gender, race. You can add that to the goals, age, and fitness level. Goals, again, I find it easy for me because I'm very straightforward. I don't do a lot of the marketing salesman talk. If you say, "Hey, what do you know about training for a marathon?" I'm gonna look at you in the face and say, sometimes I got to look up what a marathon is. I don't know. I've never done it. I would say something around the lines of I've ran 5 to 10 miles. That's it. But to train to do an actual marathon, never done that. I don't know anything about that. I can help you with your endurance, but I do not have any experience related to doing a marathon. Very straightforward about it. Now, if you're like, "Hey, I need to increase my 1 rep bench press," something I do know, I'll tell them. I will answer that. Based on straightforward. The age can be a bit of a bumpy hill for some people, especially some older clients or prospects may look at me and think, "Well, he's young, so what does he know about, I don't know, high blood pressure, diabetes, having chronic joint pain, etc." So sometimes I gotta have that conversation with them. And like I said earlier, I ask, what are your goals, medical conditions that I might need to know and be aware of, past injuries. That helps me understand how your body may move, how you may compensate for movements, what you've dealt with, and it gives me a little bit of history without directly asking, what you've done in the past. Have you been mostly sedentary? Mostly just sitting around or doing a desk jockey job? Or have you been out and about and a lot of your injuries, you got knee pain because you like to hike up hills and mountains and stuff. Or maybe you got back pain for the same reason. Maybe you got shoulder pain because you wanted to play pickleball. And for those of you like, what did he just say pickleball? Yeah, that's a thing. That is a thing. Pickleball is basically tennis slowed down and more accessible for senior citizens. It's got it has its cult following. I'm gonna tell you that. But regarding age, usually that's going to be for the extreme ends. So teenagers and boomers. Boomers being what, 64 and over, 64 to I think 80-ish. And then I think you get to the silent generation at that point. But I've worked with plenty older clients, so I tell them that, "Hey, look, I I've had a client that one time gave me, I won't say gave me crap. But he was trying to make a joke about his age, about 40 something years old. And he goes, I'm the old guy. Now I'll be the old guy you work with. I laughed in his face and said, I got clients 10, 15 years, 10, 15, 20 years older than you that are doing great things. Just, you're I get how you feel. I get you may feel out of place. But you'll be all right. I'll make sure of it. And I could even introduce you to some people so that you get a good understanding as to what you can be doing 5, 10, 20 years from now. That helps with some people. I haven't had to do that with a lot. I haven't felt the need to do that with a lot of people, but I've had a few people I work with who genuinely felt like I couldn't tell them nothing. I couldn't teach them anything I was because they just assumed I was so much younger than them. I would introduce them to somebody who was older than them, and I think, obviously can't tell. I didn't always have much conversation with those types of guys afterwards. No, but I'm sure it had an impact, whether they admitted it or not. You know, to be able to talk to somebody and say, "No, well, he hit JT helped me with this," and somebody that could be like, "Well, I'm 10, 20 years older than you. JT helped me with this." Fitness level, beginners. Basically what that's going to be for the most part. Uh, Here's the thing with the fitness level. With dealing with beginners, one thing, and I actually put this in my little notes because I didn't know if it was going to be in this question list. But one thing I really try to pay attention to is how comfortable someone is. If someone doesn't seem comfortable, I try to find ways to obviously get them comfortable, but especially ways to mitigate distractions. So let's say I want them doing an exercise, but it's in an area with some free weights and it's like three to five people around it doing other stuff. I'm not gonna have them over there. We're gonna go somewhere else. We'll probably find a machine that does the same thing, or completely simplify it somehow. So, for example, let's say, excuse me, let's say I want them doing some type of a goblet squat. I want them doing some type of squat holding a kettlebell or something like that. And they're around a bunch of people. I may say, you know what? Let's regress this. Let's just do a sit to stand. Just hold this and sit down and stand back up. Find a bench somewhere that's out of the way. Or depending on what I already know about, I may say, well, let's see if we can find a machine. That way you got your own little cubicle, your own little cubby space. You know. But that's what I focus on, trying to make sure they're comfortable. If you're new, try to make sure you're comfortable. If I see any glances of you looking at certain things, try to answer it, but also try to make sure I balance out giving up too much information. And I know that may sound a little shisty, a little malicious, but I don't want to overload someone in that mindset. I want them to focus on the things that I know are readily applicable to them. So I might not blab about stuff that's all around us. I may focus specifically on what they got going on, what they've said, and what we're going to do and why. And I'll probably just harp on that and won't say much about any other options. I may just be like, "Hey, this is the reason I want you doing this. There are other ways to achieve this, but this is why I want you doing this particular exercise this way, starting with this weight. And these are the ways you can do it. I want you to try it this way because of what you told me about your range of motion, your joint pain. You know, try to simplify it so that I don't have them drinking from the fire hose any more than they already are. Many people will go to a gym for the first few times and they'd be like, "All this stuff, I don't know what I should be doing." And I get it, right? It's a paralysis, right? It's information overload, all these things. I don't know what I should do. And some people would say, well, just get on something. Not everybody's wired like that. And sometimes, and even the people who are wired like that sometimes may still have reservations about doing that because they've had certain injuries. Another thing is maybe they had experiences that were negative in the gym and they're worried about looking like a fool. Or worse, in the age of digital media, social media, they're worried about being on somebody's TikTok. I've had, I'm going to tell this. I'm going to tell this. I remember one time I was talking to someone in the gym and we was I. We was I. A couple of days later, she shows me a video. She had recorded somebody in the gym doing neck curls. But they was like, what is a neck curl? It's basically when you got a strap around your head and you keep your body still and you just focus on bringing your chin to your chest. You could do the same thing with weight plates. If you've played football, you've probably done these types of exercises. When you're laying on the bench, looking down, the weight plate is on the back of your head, and you just look up. Or you're laying with your back on a bench, and you got the weight plate on your forehead, and you just bring your chin to your chest. It's a legitimate exercise. She showed this to me, and she was like, "What is this? This is crazy. This is crazy, right? What is he doing? Is he crazy?" Some stuff like that. And I basically said, "You shouldn't be recording this." She was like, "Oh, wow." She was like, I'm not going to share with anybody. I'm going to delete it. I was like, "No, that's a legitimate exercise." She goes, "Really?" I said, "Yeah, that's a completely legit exercise." I'm like, I've had clients do that exercise. He wasn't doing anything wrong. Matter of fact, you could go, I'm not going to do it now. I've done this before. You can get on YouTube, look up pictures and videos of gym fails, and some of those videos that I've seen will be people doing legitimate exercises. Now, I know it's easy to hear that and go, okay, well, what about the guy that was on the treadmill running with the hex bar like it's a rifle? Which still, it can be applicable. I don't know what they're doing. If you're doing airsoft or something like that, I mean, it makes sense, right? It's functional training. You can see videos of people doing crazy calisthenics stuff. You may go, that's not necessary. You don't need to do that. Well, you don't know the goals. You don't know the goals, right? Some people, I've seen people do half reps. And people are like, oh, it's not going all the way down or all the way up. Well, if you don't know the goal, I mean, partial reps are legitimate. Partial reps are considered a great plateau buster. I talked about half reps probably about a decade ago, one of my older blog posts. I'm not saying that I innovated or created it at all. What I'm saying here is that the technique has been around for a very long time and it has its purpose. I've used it years ago to break through plateaus, I'm sure. I'm sure I've used it many times before, but it's a good option. Just because somebody's doing a half rep doesn't mean they can't, or that they're ego lifting. Could be trying to do a plateau buster. They could be trying to strengthen a specific movement through a specific range of motion. And that could be the same through deadlifts slash Romanian deadlifts slash rack pulls. That could be the same for bench press, partial bench press, floor presses. That could be the same for squats, quarter squats, sit to stand squats, butt to ground squats, heels elevated squats, which usually allow you to go low, go deeper if you have lack of ankle mobility. There are options there. let's say somebody's overweight and they don't want to feel judged. They may have gone to a gym before and felt like somebody was looking at them. So there's a couple reasons to be uncomfortable. And here's another thing. I've had people like, I know no one's looking at me, but it's just a thing. The reality is there's always gonna be somebody looking. In the military, we used to say, assume that there's always somebody looking. Assume that there's always someone looking. Suspect that somebody somewhere is looking. I've had people come up to me and tell me they saw me doing X, Y, or Z in the gym dozens of times. I had no idea who they were, but they had seen me. Where they saw me from, when they saw me, I don't know. Usually they don't say anything right then on the spot. Usually they just, hey man, that was really cool when you did that. I didn't know you could do that like you just did. And I know what I'm doing most of the time. Like everybody else, every once in a while I see something on the internet and I go, let me see what this does. Let me see what this is like. See if this works out for me or not, you know? So somebody can be looking at you, and some people can be uncomfortable for understandable reasons. I get that. I get that. So I try to find ways to deal with that and be sensitive to that, be empathetic towards that. Make sure somebody gets a quick win. All right, make sure you set them up for success. All that to say, I spent maybe like 15 minutes on one question. That's all right. I think there's 20? Be all right. How long have I been going? 30 minutes. Ooh, 36 minutes. Well, it'd be about 30 minutes. About 30 minutes, I got through 2 questions. When it comes to the experience, I tell them what the experience is. Very straightforward about it. If I don't have experience with what you're trying to do, I'll tell you how my experience can relate. But I'll tell you, hey, look, I ain't never done that before. I ain't never worked with nobody that had that condition before. I'll do my research if you want to go moving forward. Here's what I know that can benefit you right now, though. You tell me how that impacts you in here, and we can figure it out. Make sure that they know the ball is in their court. I'm not gonna try to push you. Number 3, what is your training style and coaching philosophy? This is an interview question. This is a legitimate interview question. I think I answer a lot of this in number 2, right? Goal oriented is the answer. Goal oriented. And when I say goal oriented, I mean I'm trying to help you with the short and the long term goals. That's what I'm trying to do. Okay. So I've talked about various types of exercises. I'm not gonna do this. Where is the section I want to start at? Why is that there? No, don't worry about it. I've talked about working out outside. I've talked about 80s. Talked about back pain, different types of squats, partially because of back pain, dealing with posture. Where's the other one? Balance. That's what that's all about. Bulgarian split squat's all about balance. And so I'm like, man, what is that? You show me what this exercise is. We just been doing all this chatting all the time. Show us something. Maybe. Maybe. Let's see. Which one do I want to show? Out. Okay, you didn't hear that anyway. All right. I hear it, but you can't, which is fine. You don't need to hear it. All right. He's showing you how to do it wrong. I want you to see how to do it right. That is the Bulgarian split squat. And you can try this at home. Be careful. If you decide to do that, hold on to something. Do not just do this if you know you got balance issues. I've had some people like, oh, I'll try it. And all of a sudden they stumble in and everything. Hold on to something. Be near something. But anyways, like to be goal oriented. Have something in mind. If you don't have something in mind, let's try to talk about something you might have in mind. That way we can actually get you doing something. Now, this is interesting to say that, and this blog post is here. Now, for those who may not have a concrete goal. Now, I've had clients to be like, I just need to do something, but I don't want to sit in the gym and just move weights, lift weights. I want something that's fun, right? So there's all types of shenanigans and stuff that you can play around with, like monkey bars and the battle ropes, regular rope, doing little jumps and stuff on little platforms, stuff like that. Now, depending on who you are, it may go, it's a little unnecessary. But again, it's about the goal. What's your goals? All right, what's going to help keep you engaged? That's what I try to focus on. Going to the training style, coaching philosophy. What's going to help keep you engaged and keep you consistent while working towards your short and long-term goals? Would a program be customized to me? Yes. Anytime I didn't answer an important part about the question number 3. I've never had anyone ask me number 3 outside of an interviewer. But it is a good question. And it is a good way to get to the heart of how a personal trainer thinks. Almost like an elevator pitch, or a mission statement. Anyways, would a program be customized for me? I've had this question a few times. The answer is always yes. There's always some version of yes, it's going to be based on the information that I have, that you give me. That based on what I see, what I hear from you, and what you do while we're together. And it can always change with you. The goal is not to do the exact same thing with the exact same weight, with the exact same rest, and the exact same order every time. Things change, priorities change, mood changes, energy levels change. Going back a little bit to the menopause folks, menopause chicks, that days, really just not feeling it. Okay, well, we're just lighten the weight. It's okay. You in here. We can still do something. Don't beat yourself up because you didn't hit a PR or personal record or PB, personal best this week in the workout in this one exercise. You're still in here. Your body's going to be happy that you still got some exercise in. But I try to make sure that everybody considering working with me knows, listen, the workout is not going to be some generic cookie cutter workout. It's going to be specific to what I know about you. It's even personal information. Right? If I'm at a gym and I can see your age or see a picture of you, then that can tell me something. How many times have you been to the gym before you worked out or you came to see me? That can tell me something about your schedule, how consistent you are, how consistent you can be. What times do you prefer to go in the gym? That's all valuable information. There may be something, I've had plenty of people, I'd say, listen, depending on what time you come in, I will want you doing this exercise because trying to do this exercise during this time of the day, you're not going to get access to that equipment because other people are going to be on it. Those little things, they add up. They add up. So yes. Number 5, can I do specific exercise with my injury condition? This is a good question. Give me a second. This is oftentimes going to be a depends The answer would probably be something around the lines of depends on something. Yes, but I recommend doing it like this. And or is there a specific reason you want to do this exercise? So is that, for example, someone may say, "Oh man, I hate squats." Okay, well, why do you hate squats? Well, I got knee pain. Okay. Well, can you show me how the knee pain impacts you and where it impacts you, when it impacts you? What part of the movement does it impact you? I may watch your form. I may listen for when you say it's bothering you. Watch your facial expression and see if that lines up. See if there's any other little bits of information I can get from your movement. Depending on your goals, I may say, yeah, you can, but why? If it's not comfortable, instead of doing the squat like this, you could do a squat like this. For example, someone be like, I don't like doing squats. That implies, for many people, that implies doing a body weight squat or holding a weight, not a back squat where a barbell's on your back, but doing maybe a kettlebell front squat, a goblet squat, something where you're holding the weight in front of you. All right. And they said, well, instead of that, how about you do a wall sit? Just do a squat against the wall and hold that for a couple seconds. Right? That's an option. How does that feel on the knee? It feels okay? Cool. Well, why not just do that instead? I need to keep these up so I can quickly pop between them. And another reason I show this is because there's a lot of things I'm just not saying right now because I don't want to. I don't want to sit here and go, well, in this blog I said do this, do this, do this, and this. You can see it. You can go there. You can look it up. You can read it in depth if you like. But the point is, it depends, and it goes based on the goal. It may be better off just to do something else that allows you to strengthen those same muscles while doing something to deal with the injury or the condition. All right. Oh, can I do what's another one? Can I bench press with my shoulder injury? Well, depending on how your shoulder is, I may say, yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. But we need to do some things for shoulder stability. You got a shoulder injury. You need to see how that shoulder is. And in the meantime, you can do some bench pressing, but I recommend do it on the Smith machine or do it on, or instead of doing a bench press, maybe bring it down to a chest press machine. You know, just a slight switch up. Maybe do it with much less weight and go for higher reps. I've had that question plenty of times though. With lunges was another one. Many people with knee pain don't like doing lunges. Squats, the bench press. Deadlift is another one. A deadlift is another one. And that's, for some people, that could be as easy as using a trap bar. I know I talked about a trap bar one of these. There's no way I didn't talk about a trap bar deadlift. I don't see it. Okay, where's the back pain one? Where's the back pain? I didn't do the back pain. Back pain. Let's see. Bird dogs, tightrope, single leg, abs, legs, lower back exercises. And bar. Interesting. That should be there. Trap bar hex. Okay. I need to edit that. That should be there. Hex bar is great. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's just a hexagon of a barbell. In fact, hex bar. Just pull up an image of it. That's it. So a straight barbell, you just stand in the middle of it and you pick it up. That way the weight is going to find its center of gravity for you. It's awesome. Unless you're powerlifting, it ain't gonna make too much of a difference. But that's a genuine question. That's a good question. But again, the last part matters. You know, is there a reason you care about that specific exercise with your injury? That makes a big difference. If you just want to be able to bench press because that's the only way you know to work your front delts, your chest, and your triceps, you know, there are other ways to do that. There are other ways to work those muscles at the same time. What's next? How do you handle injuries or medical conditions during sessions? This is almost a duplicate of some stuff I've said earlier. But I oftentimes prefer to deal with it head on. Find ways to mitigate the pain and mitigate the issue. You got back pain and you want to work on this sport, well, we can do both at the same time. We can do this both at the same time. Especially if you come in multiple times a week. You know, we can spread a little bit out. So, you know, you do a little bit of stuff. You saw the little images for the bird dog and stuff like that. You can do a couple things for that, and then we can work towards sport specific training. Now, certain things you don't simply mitigate, you have to deal with. All right, you got a heart condition and you can't overexert yourself to a certain point. Well, maybe we need to take longer rests. Maybe we need to do less sets. Maybe we need to do less weight and more reps. So that I don't have to worry about you trying to hold your breath when things get hard. See what I mean? Deal with them. Don't try to run from them. Do you work with other health professionals, physios, doctors, dietitians? That is a great question. Most of the time, I don't. I rarely do. I rarely do. Biggest, I won't say the biggest, but one of the most notable reasons is that when I've talked to plenty of people who had doctors, physical therapists, and they didn't oftentimes have a good relationship with them. We didn't. You know, some of them we did. Some of them we did, and you know, we could have that back and forth where a client would tell me something, and they were like, the physical therapist doesn't want me doing this, or they want me doing this more. Oh, they want to make sure I'm also doing this, or you know, something like that, which is awesome. You know, I've had times where somebody's like, well, the doctor doesn't think I should be doing this. And I go, okay, well, why? And they're like, I don't know. Like, okay, we need to know why. Because that something that doesn't match what I know about this condition, you know. And I like to, and I got to make that clear, right? Because that's out of scope. That could immediately sound like I think I'm the doctor, and it's not that. But it's just like I've had doctors, I've had people come up to me and say, you know, and not know that once you start exercising X amount of times, that if you're on what is it, the heart medicine or high blood pressure, supposed to wean off of that stuff at a certain point. If you're exercising, usually there are conditions where you won't. But oftentimes, if you're on high blood pressure medicine and you start exercising a lot, at some point you're supposed to wean off of that stuff. Otherwise, your blood pressure can drop too low, and that could be just as bad an issue. I've had worked with people who didn't know that. That's a lady. You need to go talk to your doctor about that. You know, I had people telling me, well, the doctor doesn't think I should be doing this or this because the doctor was afraid that they was going to hurt themselves, but also wasn't giving them any progression. You know, some people were stuck in no man's land. I was like, I'm not getting any progress anywhere. Nobody wants to tell me what to do because they don't want me to get hurt. But in the meantime, I'm still dealing with the pain, you know. But it is great when I'm working with somebody who does have a working relationship with their physician, physical therapist, etc. You know, cardiologist, whatever it is, you know. So if they have, if a client has a working relationship with them, I want to foster that. I want to be a part of that. I want to help make sure that they have the right information to take to them to see what those experts think about that for what they're doing, because that's what it should be. It should be a team effort. You know, there are plenty articles that you can find out there talking about how healthcare professionals should take personal trainers seriously and look to integrate them into the system. It doesn't happen a lot though. That's more of a networking thing. And it takes this, and obviously stuff like that takes time. All right. I've also don't recall ever being asked that by a client. It's usually just something that just happens. We start talking about it, about something they're dealing with, and they may just start talking about something that the doctor said. You know, I've had that. Like I said, I've had that, which is good when it does happen. And depending on what's going on, depending on if somebody tells me they have certain types of conditions, I might ask them straight up, "Hey, have you talked with your doctor about the things we're doing, or things that we should and should not be doing?" And if the answer is no, I try to encourage them to do so. Because again, I'm not the expert in healthcare or all things health related. Fitness is only one part of health. There's always nutrition, mental health, etc. Number 8, how do you measure and track progress? I take notes. I take notes of what people are doing, how many reps you're doing, what weight, obviously the exercises, and track that throughout the program. Outside of that, some people have apps that they prefer. You probably saw me when I was scrolling. I did make an app, Gym Bag Digital, to help with tracking. There are a lot of other apps out there to do the exact same thing. So I tell people, listen, you need to track it. You need to track what you're doing in some way, shape, or form. However you do it, that's on you, but I want you to track what you're doing. I didn't put a I didn't put an image, and I didn't put a screenshot of the app in the blog post talking about it. That's not smart. And I don't have a quick link. Yeah, I do. There we go. There we go. We got workouts and the tracker and the exercises. I gotta do some updates. But anyways, tracking the reps and the weight and a lot of other things, miscellaneous things about how you feel and stuff like that. I take that into account. I recommend it everyone does. It helps to come into a gym and have an idea of what you're going to be doing instead of going in the gym and going, What should I do today? That's time, that's effort, that's energy that you're not putting into the workout. Where am I? Let's see. What results can I expect and how quickly? Trying to move this. What comes to mind is years ago, I wrote a blog post. Go away. How I would help you lose fat. And that just came to mind. I haven't looked at this thing in forever. But the basics are in there. Okay, look at it, over a decade ago. Doing some exercise in how you eat. You know, I'm not a registered dietitian, RD, so I'm not going to go big into all of that. Right? No, I'm not. I don't know. I'm not going into the details about fasting and all of that. That's not my lane. Try to get good sleep. Try to do things to help you relax, be creative. It helps to have some support, have some goals, be realistic. That's very much on par with what I would say today if I was if I was writing this blog post. I wouldn't say it exactly like that because of SEO and a bunch of other stuff. But that that's the gist of how to get to the results, actually. You know, it's not a direct answer to the question. You know, I was basically explaining how would you get those results. Forgot the actual question for a second. What are the results to expect? Let's say you're saying, hey, I want to get stronger. Now you'll get stronger as long as you're tracking. You'll know you're getting stronger if you track your numbers. That's what I also say to that. It's almost like, well, I want to lose weight. You know, how long would it take for me to lose weight? That's when all that other stuff I say matters even a lot more. Oh, I need, you know, I'm trying to lose weight. Okay, well, we need to check out your eating habits, which I'll talk a bit about. You know, I do have my precision nutrition level 1, so I can talk about that, and I will. I'll talk about the behavioral habits. I'm not big on the macros and all that other stuff. You know, macros and counting calories because for many people that's just not feasible. For most people I work with, that's just going to be a time waster. And I'm not saying it's not good to do that or to know how much protein, calories, carbs, and fat you're getting on a regular day. All I'm saying is that tracking that stuff for many people is just too much. And for many people, it's not necessary. But with the weight loss, I try to first make sure that they understand ways that they can't track their weight. And I'll talk about those little things, sleep, you know, how they're eating. You know, I don't try to change everything about them. Just try to get a better understanding of what they're doing. You know, try to get you to make healthier decisions for you. All right. A trucker who's on the road for days at a time doesn't have the same amount of access, you know, same food, the same access to food compared to a desk jockey who works in a city plaza. All right. Well, you got a little restaurant next door and maybe a little convenience shop or or a gas station about a couple minutes walk away from you. You know what I'm saying? So dealing with that, best ways to deal with what you have that actually work for what your lifestyle, you know, and then how quickly that many times that's if you're doing those things, I'll say, listen, how many days can you get in here? Focus on how many days you can get in here, will make the most out of it. But with strength, you'll see that quickly, immediately, close to immediately. If you're not, then Usually that means we gotta have a conversation about how comfortable you are pushing yourself. But I've had people ask me this question. I've had people ask me this question, and usually what I'll say, about a month, if you stay consistent, you will see some progress. But that means that we're talking about those other things that they can do outside the gym, ways that they can track their weight, and understanding the difference between losing weight and losing fat. Right? Many people be like, well, my body mass index is 26, so I need to get that down, which, okay, yeah, that's a high number. But what is body mass index calculation? I know the answer, but I want you to see it. What is it? It's your pounds divided by your height times 703. That does not take into account muscle mass at all. It's just weight and height. That's it. What this isn't saying is that BMI was created before bodybuilding was a thing. But that was like what, 50s, 60s, 70s, decades ago. So if you have any level of muscle mass or you're doing something to build muscle mass, it's going to interfere with this. And I like to tell people this because oftentimes what happens is you start exercising, you start working out, even if you're not trying to gain muscle mass, your muscles are going to respond. Right. And yes, and no, women, you don't build mass as quickly as men. The women I've worked with who do build mass quickly, usually it's in the traps and shoulders, and usually they know it. They usually know it. And they'll tell me, hey, look, I don't want anything that's going to build my shoulders and traps. I don't want anything that's going to make my bra tighter. Okay, got it. Understood. You know. But the reason I bring this up is because, like I said, if you're exercising, you start doing some type of resistance training. You don't have to be free weights. It could be the machine. It could be calisthenics. It could be yoga. Well, maybe not yoga. Could be like Pilates, right? Any of that stuff, where there's some type of resistance training, you may gain a little bit of muscle mass. That means that weight is going to go up. So you may be like, hey man, I gained a pound. And I may have to ask, well, do your clothes fit better? I'm like, yeah, they do. Okay. So you're losing fat. Like, yeah, but the weight went up. Yeah, the weight went up because you gained a little bit of mass. Muscle is heavier than fat. See if we can get a little image of that. A image of muscle. Let me see, 1 pound of muscle compared to 1 pound of fat. 1 pound of fat. Pound of fat takes approximately 18% to 30% more volume than 1 pound of muscle. Differences in muscle density. There we go. Images. 2 kilograms, which is what? It's like what? 4 something pounds? I don't know. 4 point something pounds. That's a big difference. That's a huge difference. That's not a good image. 5 pounds of muscle fat versus 5 pounds of muscle. It's pretty good. Notice that. That's not good. That's not even right. This this is closer. This and this. Did that not work? Oh, they sell that. That's pretty cool. Not gonna wait for that to load though. Consistency. Within a month, you should see some progress. All right, number 10. How many days per week should I work out? I usually say 2 to 3 days a week is great, but you can make progress off of 1 to 2 days a week. I've had clients who did that. I've had clients who saw amazing progress 1 to 2 days a week. You can do it being consistent. And that's the part that I like to emphasize when someone asks me this question. I get asked this question quite a bit. That end number 9. How many days should I work out? How many you can do consistently? How many you know you can do consistently and stay engaged? Don't tell me you can come in here 4 days a week if you know that you'd be struggling and then you'd have to change up your lifestyle a lot just to get in here 3 days a week. How many days do you know you can get in here? I I only I know I can do 2. Well, that's what we're gonna stick with for right now. We'll stick with the 2 and we'll add on later if we can and if it's necessary. But it's much more important to have two consistent days a week versus 4 inconsistent days a week. And then I gotta worry. Then you're gonna be having it back in your mind. Oh, I really should get to the gym, and then the guilt and all this stuff. I don't want to deal with none of that. I want nothing to do with any of that. I don't want to deal with any of that. Goal is to make it easy for you to integrate this into your lifestyle. Make it a part of your lifestyle. Not everybody does a good job of uprooting things to integrate one thing. I'm not saying that, and obviously I said not everyone, right? Some people will like, hey, look, I'll figure it out. Many don't. And they get frustrated and they miss days. Well, but not all, JT. No, I didn't say all. You didn't listen. I didn't say all. I said many. And because of the many is what I like to focus on. I like to lean on that one. And I argue that's almost most. How many days should you work out? How many days you know you can consistently work out? What diet should I follow? What should I eat? My immediate response to this question, and I get this question a few times, I would say, listen, I'm not a registered dietitian. I don't have access to your medical records, and if you gave them to me, I wouldn't know what to do with them. Obviously, I'd research it, but I don't want it. All right. I don't need no part of no HIPAA violation. What I would say is that we'll talk about what you eat, how we eat, when, what, where, etc. And then we can talk about healthier eating habits. We can talk about behavioral habits, behavior eating, all the fancy words and terms for that. Talk about behaviors related to your eating habits. And we'll deal with that. That's what we'll deal with. Instead of trying to uproot everything you change. Why? Budget. Also, why? Because if I don't understand what you're doing now, making changes, I'll be making changes blindly. And again, I'm not a registered dietitian. So I have zero business trying to tell you what I don't do meal plans. I'm not a registered dietitian, only one only ones to do meal plans. If you're listening to me going, well, my personal trainer does meal plans, well, you need to ask if they're a registered dietitian. And if you trust them and they're not a registered dietitian, well, that's your business. I tell my prospects and my clients, I'm not a registered dietitian. We can talk about behaviors and we'll deal with that. I'm not going to sit here telling you how many carbs and calories, protein, and fat you need to be getting every day. We're going to deal with the things that we know, and we deal with those in a holistic manner. Do I need supplements? No. No. I had a client ask me this just days ago, asked about pre-workout supplements. Like, what's the deal with pre-workout supplements? And I said, well, here's the deal. Most of them are going to have the same ingredients. They're going to have B12, maybe some arginine, I don't know, nitric oxide supplement, at least one of them. Caffeine, maybe some green tea extract, maybe some beet powder extract, and then a couple other things that are meant to be associated with focus, energy, and metabolism, right? Like the thermogenics, remember the hydroxycut and all of that stuff. Do you need it? No. What I'll tell people, listen, depending on what you got going on, it may be beneficial to get look at your last blood test and get a vitamin that's specific to something you had less of. Vitamin D is a popular one. I won't say popular, but common one. Right? Maybe get some vitamin C if you tend to get sick. There's a couple other things you can put in that list. Many times, if somebody asks me about needing supplements, it'll be about, it'll be that I've had that question, do I need supplements? No. What supplements should I take? You don't need supplements. Are there any ones that I should think about trying? Maybe creatine. Creatine can be fine. You likely already have what it turns into in your body anyway, creatinine. All right. Get about 2 weeks, and it may help increase athletic performance. If not, well, you'll piss it out for most people, unless you got liver issues. If you got liver issues, then you'll likely need to stay away from it. But that's a legit question. I get asked that sometimes. I get asked about supplements. I like to tell people, and I've written about this. See if I can quickly pull it up. Research. I like to do my research so I can get an understanding of what's going on with the supplement. Word of mouth is important, but it helps to get an understanding of whether a supplement has been scientifically tested to have what they say is in it. Will you provide workouts, nutrition guidance between sessions? This depends on the gym, the relationship, and the package. I've had people while I was, after I'm done talking to somebody, I want to see a prospect, but maybe just another gym member, say, hey, can I ask you about this? I don't mind answering questions. What can be frustrating sometimes is somebody just, hey, can you just throw up a quick workout program for me real quick? Without giving me any context. Those are usually people that, for those wondering, what do you do when someone does that? So you need to think about your goals and then let me know so we can have a straightforward conversation instead of me shooting in the dark. I'm like, oh, because otherwise you'll be like, well, I just need to know what I can do to get started. Okay, well, you can just do the machines. You can do the machines, but I don't know anything about you. I don't want to risk telling you something that's going to influence you to do something you probably have zero business doing, but I don't know because I haven't assessed you. It's one of those things of trying to not only try to protect you from yourself, but protect me from a liability and the possibility of being a reason that you hurt yourself. But if you're doing my fiber package, and I do have a package where you hit me up, I'll give you all the information you need and want. Talked about the nutrition stuff. We can sit and talk about the behavioral habits relating to what you're eating and why. and talk about ways to eat, make healthier decisions. So again, I get this question. I get this question periodically. Number 14, what is your availability and scheduling policy? This all depends on where I'm working. But this is an important question to ask. I should have said that earlier. These important question to ask, what results to expect? How many days should you work out? That gives you an understanding of the trainer. What diet should I follow? What should I eat? This is a question that you need to do your own homework on before asking them. I won't say you need to, but you should. See if they're a registered dietitian. If not, see what they're talking about. They're talking about behavioral stuff like I am. That's fine. That's fine. But if you got somebody who isn't a registered dietitian, who isn't a healthcare professional within your healthcare system, a trainer telling you, let me see your medical records. Yeah, that's pretty sure there's a way you can justify it. But to create meal plans is not one of them. Advice on where to maybe look for certain vitamins, sure. But not for meal plans. Make sure they're registered dietitians. Do I need supplements? This is a good question to ask. But you should also do your own research, because depending on the trainer you work with, depending on where they're working, they may be obligated to upsell supplements at that gym. So keep that in mind. I'm thankful I've not been in that position, because I've had people, should I take this? I'd be like, you don't need to focus on doing anything more than coming into the gym on a consistent basis. I don't want to ask you to do anything more than this specific thing right here. Otherwise, you could be doing this thing. It could be a placebo effect. See what you can do on your own without it. Now, again, with vitamins, that's a little different. That's also a conversation with the doctor oftentimes. But that is also a good question to ask. You do your homework with that one with the trainer. Will you provide workouts, nutrition guidance between sessions? Also a great question. Helps you understand what you're getting. Some people, they want to be able to have those check-ins. That's why I put that as part of my package. I got a package where I do periodic check-ins, and video reviews for your form. That's important. That's important for some people. Some people, they need a little nudge. They need a little accountability, which is fine. That is fine. It's okay to need somebody to give you a swift kick in the butt or remind you, hey, look, I'm in your corner and I want you to know I care and you can do this. So do this, Also, goals change. So if you're doing workouts on your own and you're like, hey, I'm not sure if I should be doing this, to be able to ping somebody and get an answer in a reasonable amount of time, that's important. That can be important. What is your availability and scheduling policy? Very important. How long in advance must you schedule or must you cancel before you're still charged? That's an important question to ask. I answered that directly. How much does personal training cost? Great question to ask. It is an important question to ask. That's something else I'll say about that question in a few. Number 17, where do we train? That's a great question. Some gyms you can go outside. Depending on where you're talking to the trainer, you may need to know, hey, look, where are we going to actually be working out at? Are we going to be working out at a private studio, my home, your home? outside, the apartment complex, gym. Where are we doing this? That's important to know. It can help you understand the environment, uh, potential issues related to the weather, etc. Number 18, what equipment or clothing should I bring? This is a great question. This is a great question. Not everybody has fitness attire or exercise attire. Depending on your body type, depending on what you'll be doing, you may need to be wearing certain types of clothing, right? You're going to be doing a bunch of leg exercises. You have no business wearing a skirt. If you're going to be on the ground outside doing stuff, you need to bring a yoga mat or a towel or something, maybe. You need to bring a bottle of water. Depending on what you're doing and the conditions, you may need to bring some wrist wraps, some gloves. You may need to bring something for your hair, right? Your medication, your inhaler. All of that stuff can be beneficial. Maybe your own first aid kit. I bring mine, but you may have specific conditions that require unique stuff that your doctor gave you that I may not even know what it is. You know, but that is an important question to ask. Don't assume that they're going to have everything. Where am I? Number 19, can you provide client references or success stories? This this is admittedly something I should do a better job of. I should ping some people for that. I only have two as of right now. I do have some others. I didn't put them on the website because this wasn't like this at first, but I can feel this and I should. This is a good question to ask because this gives you obviously better context rather than somebody selling you. I could tell you everything I told you, but it'll mean something different if, let's say, you're an older woman and you see this or this, or be able to talk to them and hear them tell you how I helped them. That can help you feel a little bit more at ease. And word of mouth, despite all this stuff going on with digital marketing, word of mouth is still the top method for turning prospects into customers. It's not paid advertising, YouTube videos, content marketing. It's word of mouth. Word of mouth. If somebody, if a person tells you about me, that gives the biggest likelihood that you're going to come to me and be genuinely interested versus reading any blog, seeing a YouTube video of me doing exercises, having somebody you know say, hey, JT helped me with this. That's going to mean a lot more to you than any content. The content will help at that point, but that word of mouth it matters. Number 20, last one. Why am I not losing weight? Why aren't I seeing results? This goes back to what I said earlier about what results can I expect and how quickly. Having, again, smart goals, reasonable goals to understand why, when you should be seeing results. If you're not losing weight, then immediately I go, where are you tracking this? What's telling you you're not losing weight? Is it the weight scale, or is it you looking at how you fit in your clothes? Did you take pictures of yourself when we first started, like I asked you to? And did you take pictures again to compare them? Why aren't I seeing results? Are you tracking what you do in the gym, specifically for endurance or strength training related goals. If you're not tracking it, how do you keep how do you know when you're getting better or worse? Or at what rate you're doing either? That one is pretty straightforward. Another so going past the 20 that the internet said, there are two questions that I alluded to here and there, but I still want to answer. The first one is, what am I paying for? That depends on you and your goal and your personality. When I talk to somebody, I'm trying to figure out, what do they want from me? Are they looking for somebody to be in their corner, to support them? Are they looking for somebody to teach them? Are they looking for somebody to motivate them, to push them outside of it, push them past them, push them to their limit, or past their comfort zone? All right, better way of saying that. Are they looking for somebody to refine what they already know? Are they looking for somebody to challenge what they already know? Are they looking for more ideas to get them towards a goal? What are they looking for? Are they looking for somebody to help them pass the time while they're in the gym, which is the thing? Are they looking for accountability? And depending on you, you may hear some of these things and go, why would somebody pay for that? Easy. It's a service. It's a service. We pay for all types of things for convenience all the time. All the time. You get people who pay others to drive them around these days. We pay people to make us food. We get paid for all types of stuff. That's a question you need to ask yourself before you talk to the trainer, though. You need to know what you're trying to get out of it. You need to have an idea of it. Obviously, you can talk with the trainer to see what they may be prioritizing when they talk about it. I've had clients be like, listen, I just need something to get me started. I just need a couple workouts, make sure I know what I'm doing, and then I'm a dip. I'm like, all right, that's cool with me. That's cool. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Getting a little head start. Is it worth it? That's the last question. Is it worth it? That goes back to the question about, what are you paying for? Is it worth for you to pay whatever the price is for the trainer and their services? It's a question you got to figure out. Get all that information and figure it out. You do your due diligence. All right. Don't just go to one person and go, all right, cool. This is what I got to go for. Shop around. Shop around. I gave you that example earlier with the pregnant woman. Hey, have you ever worked with somebody who's pregnant? Nope. But if you want to work with somebody who has, this gym has a female trainer. She likely knows something. I knew that, so I didn't mind giving her that information. I don't know if she ever went to her. You got to figure that part out. It was fun, and it only took what, hour and a half. Nice. So yeah, I just wanted to do a quick little stream answering questions that you should ask about personal trainers, about a personal trainer, or ask a personal trainer when you're curious about their services, which you think it may be helpful for you. I'm sure there are plenty other important questions to ask. Those are just the ones that came to mind and showed up. It's not a final list of anything. And in a way, it's ideation for when if I create any content related to anything I said in here. But I've been slacking a lot on video content over the past few years, actually. So when I do something, I try to make sure it's something that's going to be beneficial to a lot of people. Right? You want more? I'm always putting stuff in the blog at jtspratly.com, but I also have a couple of videos on YouTube, a couple of new videos, me doing some stuff with core stability and with the TRX. So you got options if you're looking for something, try to get you started. You got questions? I'm on Twitter or X. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on YouTube. Just hit me up. All right. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. If you got questions, again, just